morning, good afternoon, or good evening, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of Life with Shenita. This is a celebration of 5 years of conversations relative to life. When I started this broadcast 5 years ago, we were amid COVID and many people were dying. And I thought to myself, you have a book that's relative to what's happening in the world. You must share it. You must share the resources. You must share the information so that people have the opportunity to set their affairs in order. And we have had a wonderful journey thus far of sharing relative information. We've had a lot of fun. We've talked about any and everything related to life. We've talked about genetics. We've talked about HIV. We've talked about children being molested. We've talked about legal aspects of getting your affairs in order. We've talked about the banking aspect of getting your affairs in order, funeral plans, financial plans, life insurance. Do you have enough life insurance? We've touched base on so many topics. And I hope that tonight will be nothing less than inspiring. It will prompt you to move to action, to do what's necessary for your life and your family and those that you know. First of all, I'd like to ask you a question. Please like and share the broadcast because it means nothing if we don't share. I truly believe sharing is caring. Many people say they care, but how many people really put action behind caring? So I'm going to ask if you all would like and share the broadcast. I have some incredible individuals that are joining me this evening who are subject matter experts in their own field. We have a financial advisor, we have a funeral director, we have a lawyer, we have a life insurance agent. So we have some experts who will share some valuable information that will save you some heartache and pain. So let me go back a little bit. This year will be 10 years that my husband passed away unexpectedly. We as a couple knew what we needed to do. We thought we had more time and we were taking the time. On June 30th, 2015, when he laid down next to me to say, I love you and good night, he collapsed. He did not have another opportunity, or should I say, we did not have another opportunity as a couple to get our affairs in order because 3 weeks later, he passed away. We knew what to do. We just kept putting it off. And so I want to make sure people understand time is of the essence. We do not know when our exit will take place, but we do know that we have an exit. And so we have to make sure that we are setting our affairs in order so that our family members can grieve peacefully. I was not able to grieve peacefully because all I could think about was the stress that came with us not setting our affairs in order, and we knew what to do. So I hope that my journey, these almost 10 years, will help you have a better journey without the unnecessary heartache and pain that I have had to endure. And yes, I have endured the journey. Has it been easy? No, it has not been. But because of the grace of God and the support system that I have, and I'm so very grateful that I'm still here to tell the story and to help other people. So with that being said, I would like to invite my special guest in to share a little bit about themselves. And we have this conversation in celebration of 5 years of Life with Shenita talk show. Thank you for joining us. Hello, Attorney Bailey.
Hello, how are you?
Wonderful. How are you this evening?
Just wonderful.
Thank you so much for saying yes and being here to share from the legal aspect of your career and this journey of getting your affairs in order.
Yes. It is a pleasure to be asked. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Yes. Welcome, Dana Lemon. You're on mute, Dana. Let's bring Theo in while she gets situated. I think it's a connection issue. Theo Pritchett, welcome to Life with Shenita anniversary show.
Glad to be here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm not on mute. All right.
Nice and clear. And last but certainly not least, my brother and my friend, Floyd Gant. Welcome and thank you for being present.
All right, Dr. Shenita Connolly. We are just proud to be here. I'm happy. 5 years. Wow. Time flies. And you look the same that 5 years ago. So you don't age. So I can't say that about myself.
Well, I wish I felt like I didn't age. Because I'm feeling every one of those years.
Oh, boy.
Oh, but thank you. I'm so glad you're here. Dana?
Yes, ma'am. I'm here. Can you see me?
Yes. Uh-oh, she dropped off. She'll be back. So I'm so glad that you all are, a part of this show because the show started in April 2020 with this theme, Is Your House in Order, right? And so each week during the month of April leading into March, we took a particular topic and we delved into it. Well, tonight, we are going to delve into it all in one conversation. So Dana, can you hear us?
I'm here.
Okay.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. So welcome and thank you for saying yes. And I'm going to, before we get started, I'm going to ask you guys to tell a little bit about who you are and one thing that people would be surprised to know about each of you all. But before we do that, I want to share my sentiments with Tom Jones. Hopefully he'll be able to join in with us a little later. He is doing a breaking story. A deputy has been shot. So that is why he is not present at the moment. So my prayers are with the deputy and the family as they are going through this unexpected tragedy. And it's ironic that this is our conversation. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And every time we turn around and we look at life, that's why this part of our life is just as important as the other parts of our lives. So with that being said, ladies first. So Sonia, would you introduce yourself and tell us something that people would be surprised to know about you in that introduction?
All right. My name is Sonia Bailey, and I have been practicing law in the Atlanta area for the last 30 years. I think the one thing people might be surprised to know about is that when I first started out, I worked with a firm and we did church law. So we were involved in incorporating churches. We were involved in church splits. We were involved in all kind of stuff. We were the ones that pastors called when they were in trouble. And that's professionally. Personally, one thing I love, people might not know, is to travel. If I can get away at least once a month, I'm gone. I'm out of here. Because when you work hard, you have to play hard as well.
Yes, you do.
Yes.
Even harder.
Exactly.
Floyd, you would agree with that, right?
I agree.
and your wife would agree with that.
Yes. We love to travel. We just came to Morocco.
Yes. I love it. I love it. Dana?
I think I got some sort of technical problems, but I'm here. Maybe in and out. Hi, good evening, good afternoon. I'm London. I am the president of W Sons and now
Dana, the connection is not good. We cannot hear clearly. I'm gonna text you. Yeah, because it's muffled. Okay. So Theo.
My name's Theo Pritchett. I'm honored to be here with these esteemed esteemed panel. Thanks for the smile, Floyd, and absolutely a smile of you, um, Sonia, an attorney. I've always wanted to be an attorney, Sonia, and
It's not too late.
thank you. Yeah, I've heard about the Birmingham School of Law, so yeah, and of course a dear colleague there with Floyd. Um, one thing people would be anyway. I'm the classic insurance agent, but we do financial services, and Floyd knows what I'm talking about. We do the full gamut. I'm a certified infinite banking specialist, and amongst other things, the biggest thing that I think people will be surprised about me, I'm a father of 4, 3 boys and 1 girl. But my wife actually, and I know this is going to be repeated here tonight. I was listening to Dr. Shenita's not story, but the facts of her life. My wife actually died holding my hand. We started off going to Sunday school. I got a call saying you need to get me straight to the hospital. I did everything, Floyd, everything Sonia that I was supposed to. And she died right outside the MRI room because they thought she had she had a history of migraines, but turns out she had a first brain aneurysm. And then she had the second one right outside the MRI room. But since then, raised 4 children and now have 7 grandchildren. And it's a thing about trusting in God and the Lord, because from there to now, I can see not that it was meant to be that happened, but he's taken care of us through this time, and all 4 college grads, all the grandchildren, and now I'm here to witness my daughter have her first child here in Houston, Texas, and because of what I do, and because of COVID, we'll be able to do it remotely. That's the thing that, because I seem so level to have gone through that, but I'm through it now, and that's one of the passions behind where I do what I do. I would not even be in the insurance industry at all, but because of that, we lost our house. And so, is your house in order? If you don't have your stuff together, I didn't say I could have. I lost mine, and at the time I had my master's and all this training, but unless you take time to do this and get things together, and that's the passion that my customers hear from me, and that's what I'm looking forward to with this group and organization, is to bring this forward. I love the one word that I'll stop with: unnecessary. Amen. Unnecessary. Unnecessary. Am I right, for unnecessary? And so we hope that someone heeds what we're doing, even if you already have it. Get with a professional, check it out, because you can't check it close enough to make sure they're having unnecessary risk.
Amen. Thank you. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, Floyd.
Theo, I'm just going to say a quick prayer for you, because I'm just thinking about what you just told us the story. So thank you for sharing that with us. And I said a silent prayer while you were saying that. My wife also had lymphoma. When we got married, we found out, and she's still here, but she went through a severe stage where she almost passed away. And she went from 135 pounds to 80 pounds with a radiation. And we were a young couple at the time, and we said, this can't be happening. And definitely house was not in order. And that's when I was just leaving the financial world. I'm working for corporate America, and I could imagine losing her. So my prayers go out to you and the family and how you bounce back. So to hear that courageous story, I give you applause. So thank you for sharing that with us. I would tell you, ladies and gentlemen, my background, I graduated from esteemed Fort Valley University, did mathematics. And then I went the MBA route, and I went to Clark, Atlanta, and I moved up north, worked in corporate America for several plus years and corporations up there in Hartford, Connecticut. And I came back to Georgia, and that same person who we found out she had cancer actually found my first job at financial services at Edward Jones. She had sent my resume out, and I was in corporate America, and I said, this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to do something that start something on my own. Your boss, you're only as good as your boss when you work at a W-2 place. And I was not an entrepreneur by spirit, but when I opened my business, I built my business from scratch. Now I'm the 3rd largest diverse financial advisor in the Southeast. And I've helped people for over 18 plus years. Thank you. And I love what I do. I've enjoyed it. Wife is doing good. She started her own company. She left the school system this year, and she works part-time for that. And she has her own kind of event planning. And we just continue to grow, and I continue to hopefully I call it spread the financial gossip, right? I really do feel like, and I don't want to say nothing about a minister, I do feel like I'm a financial minister. When I get to preaching, I love to talk about corporate bonds, Roth, 401k, and I could talk all day about tax efficiency and savings, right? So I just blessed that I'm in this career. I'm blessed I'm able to speak to people. I was telling the esteemed colleagues that I was at Spelman today. I go to Spelman every semester, and I talk to the young ladies who are about to graduate and how well they are. So one thing about me you may not know, I have a 2-year-old. So I also have a 9-year-old. We were blessed. Again, wife went through a lot at the beginning, so it was hard to have kids. So we call these our miracle babies. So we have a 2-year-old, and I may look young, but I'm a little older. so we go with a 2-year-old around. People look at me and know me from high school like, whoa, but we just happy. And I got 2 girls, and I love them to death. Girls are the salt of this earth, and they just make my life so much different than it was before. And I get happy every day I walk through the house. So that's my journey.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I love watching you all share your journey and those beautiful babies. One looks like mom, one looks like dad. Okay, so Dana, hopefully we can hear you this time.
I don't know. Can you hear me this time?
Yes. Yes. So if you would introduce yourself, Dana.
All right. So I don't have a fabulous story like Floyd, but I'm Dana Lemon. I am the president of WD Living Funeral Home. We've been serving the Southern Crescent since 1959. So if you do the math, I'm not that old. The funeral home is that old. It is a family business. My mother and father had 7 children, and we've all been involved in the business, and we've got nephews and cousins, and just really it is truly a ministry, Floyd, where we are, of serving the community during some of the most difficult times of life and death. Something that people don't know or may not know about me, if they follow my Facebook page, they know this, but there are 2 things that people probably don't know. I love to fish. We grew up fishing in ponds and creeks and lakes. It is my favorite thing in the world as far as relaxing is concerned. And I'm a self-proclaimed foodie. So if you want to know anything about the best foods in and around Metro Atlanta, I can help you with that. It's self-proclaimed, though. Remember, self-proclaimed.
I love it. So thank you all, and I'm honored to have you all, carve out time to be here this evening to have this conversation in celebration of 5 years. So with that being said, you heard me mention, how my husband passed away. We were educated. We knew what to do. We were just too busy doing life. We thought we had more time. You heard Theo talk about the sudden loss of his wife and how they lost their home. I want to make sure. I was so embarrassed when my husband passed and we realized we didn't have all of our I's dotted and T's crossed. And God said to me, you have to share. I'm like, but I don't want to share. I was caught up in this couple who looked like they had it going on. Now I got to tell people that we didn't have it going on. And he said, it's not about you. You have to share your story to help other people. And so I've been on that quest to do that for almost 10 years. And so I want us to talk about, from each of your perspectives, some key things that people can do to ensure, just practical things that they can do to make sure that their affairs are in order. And Attorney Bailey, I want to start with you, because I think a lot of times the legal aspect of things kind of scare people. And I want to put them at ease. I want them to be comfortable with the fact that you probably need to take care of your legal side. We've seen so many famous people pass away with their affairs out of order. And so can you help them understand just a few basic things? Because we're going to share your information with them, each of you all, so that at some point they can connect with you guys and have a one-on-one. But can you share with them some basic things that they really should be thinking about?
All right. First of all, even before we get older, we need medical directives. Even if we're not sick and we're not older, I have one that protects you when you're not able to speak for yourself. That you can make the decision while you're in conscious, while you're okay. You can make that decision that when you are in a position where you can't talk for yourself, who's going to talk for you? The last will and testament. One of the things that I encourage my clients to do when I'm preparing a last will and testament is talk to your children and your family. Your last will and testament doesn't have to be a big secret. I don't really understand where that comes from. Because, especially people who have a lot of children, one child says, Mom always said X. One child says, Mom always said Y. I'm supposed to get the house. Tell them, show them the will, let them know what a will is, and talk to them so that these issues, you can resolve them, because after you die, you can't come back and say it. So before you pass, and I even encourage clients that before I start writing the will, have a conversation. If you have a house and you have 5 children, talk to the 5 children, because maybe somebody doesn't even want a house. And if you're going to have, and when you're preparing your will and you have more than one child and you have adult children, who's going to get the house? And if you're going to leave it to all 5 children, okay, let's put some parameters around it. Is somebody staying in the house? Do you anticipate somebody wanting to stay in the house? You leave it to all 5 children and one of them is staying in the house. Who's going to pay the taxes on that house? Who's going to pay for the general upkeep of that house? Is that one child staying there because they want to, or are they staying there because they need to? You need to have those tough conversations with that child, with all of the children, to say, when mama die or when daddy die, this is what I expect you all to do, so that there's no big surprises when people pass. I don't know how many times I've represented people that they want to leave all 5 children on the house, not tell anybody, knowing that one child really needs to stay there, or the other children going to gang up and put that child out of the house. We got to communicate. We got to talk more to each other. We got to see what each other want. We got to tell each other, this is what my will actually is. And if you also have a will and then you do a new will, you need to make sure all those copies are destroyed so that nobody will think that that's your final testament. And when you're getting your stuff in order, think about the fact that when somebody really looks at this and have to use this, you're not going to be around to explain. So everybody who's close to you should know. If you have children that are, your spouse is not the parent of those children and you pass, you need to think about what is going to happen to your stuff, your house, your assets. Are you going to have some adult children try to put your new spouse out of the house? And if you're the new spouse, you need to think about that. What are the things we can do to protect each other? Not only when I look at preparing a will, I look at if you have property, how is that property titled? Is it a life estate? So that maybe we can avoid some of the probate. Now, don't do a lot of wills and trusts, because I went to law school over 30 years ago. So when I was going to law school, they was telling us, we're in the South, our probate laws are not as bad as California. So they do all those trusts out in California. And we're the ones who just probate our wills. I do know people who probate, who don't prepare trusts. So I always send people to someone who's qualified. But those are the big things when you're getting that paperwork in order. And as some of us have older parents who are getting where they can't do the things they used to do, we need to make sure that they're taken care of and that we're looking at what they're doing, I have access to mom's bank account. She's looking somewhere and she knows I'm checking that account every day because I don't want any fraud to happen with her, that I'm authorized on that account. So if something does happen to her, I can step in and make sure bills still get paid. So it's just a lot of stuff people need to really think about when they're trying to get their house in order.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And they can reach out to you, Attorney Bailey. Your number is there because they may have specific questions. I've seen where some people say my family is going through that or went through that, where you can advise them based on their specific situation.
Exactly.
So I'm hoping that they will contact you to talk to you about that.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Dana, when we think about the funeral, we've expired, and now we're trying to either celebrate the person's life or cremate them or bury them or what have you. Can you share with the audience, because we saw a lot of GoFundMe's during the COVID period, and when I grew up, we had life insurance policies. The insurance people used to come to our house to collect that payment every week. And so I grew up in a home where my parents really did have their affairs in order. And so they taught us that. And so I'm really ashamed that I didn't take that all the way through my marriage and check all the boxes, right? There are some boxes that I checked, but not all the boxes. So can you talk to them about the importance of planning for your exit? Because we all know that we're exiting.
And we all are exiting here. And I think that Attorney Bailey said the most important thing in the beginning: communication, talking. I don't know what it is about the topic of death and dying that makes people hesitant, but we're not willing to sit our children down around the table and say, look, mama's 95 years old. I'm not going to be here to be 205. So we got to start having these conversations. So I would agree with her that the most important thing that you do is talk. Talk to your spouse, talk to your children, your grandchildren, talk to the family that's going to be responsible for your final disposition. And then be honest with them. If you do want to be cremated, let them know that, regardless of their personal feelings. Let them know what your wishes are. If you do not want to be cremated, let them know that. I tell folks all the time, the best thing that my father and my mother did, and we're in the business, but they sat down and wrote down specific instructions about their services so that their 7 children wouldn't have to be sitting around guessing what mama and daddy would want. We're in the industry, and we still had to write it down, or they still had to write it down in order to keep peace in our household. And so if you want to keep your family together and allow them to grieve during this time, rather than worrying about, I want this, I want that, mama said this, mama said that, the best thing that you can do, sit down and talk to them, write it down. Wills are great, and you should do a will, but at the very minimum, a sheet of paper and write it down. Nothing fancy, just write it down. And then finally, as your life changes, your circumstances change the documents associated with your death. I cannot tell you the number of families that do not change the beneficiary of a very nice life insurance policy when they die, when someone dies, and at the time of their death, there's a lot of probating that needs to occur, and there's a lot of confusion. So as your life changes, making sure that your death preparation changes with it, whether it's your life insurance policy, whether it's your wishes for services, whether it's where you wish for things to happen. We know that so many people now are doing virtual church. And so we've left the physical buildings that we used to worship in. Do you still want to have your service in a physical building? If you're cremated, what do you want your family to do with those cremated remains? Many years ago, the state of Georgia began allowing funeral homes to keep cremated remains in our possession. We have cremated remains from 20 years ago. Now, do you want your cremated remains to remain with the funeral home, or do you want to be scattered? Do you want to be buried next to your grandfather? Those are the kinds of things that families need to be talking about and sharing and being honest about. And if you're not sure, you can always pick up the phone. call your local funeral director and say to them, look, we're starting to have these conversations. What kinds of things do we need to talk about? We've actually got a sheet, like a checklist. And these are the things that you need to be thinking about and talking about in preparation for your funeral, in preparation for your death. And so, if at the very least, talk to your local funeral director. And I will remind folks, I'm a woman of faith. I believe that God has the final say in when we live and when we die. Having these conversations won't change God's mind.
No.
It's not going to change God's mind.
Sure
Everybody has a date. And so having these conversations allow you to be good stewards of his resources and responsible in your decision making and caring for your family. So go ahead and have the conversation and then be honest about what you want and what you don't want.
Yes, yes. You know, there are so many options out there, Dana. They can pre-plan in terms of paying. If they don't have life insurance, all they need to do is just come in and have a conversation with you.
Have a conversation, and we can share with you all the different options out there that would fit your family and your life. And no, GoFundMe is not a good option because of what I've been told. I don't know this for sure, but it's not an immediate source of funding. So if you're trying to have a service within 5, 7, or 10 days, those resources are not going to be available to you for a few weeks. And so I'm not sure that's the direction you want to go with your family and the services.
And you know, I want to also
tell you,
go ahead, Floyd.
Really important. GoFundMe shouldn't be an option, period. All right. Shouldn't be an option, period. Let's make sure we have life insurance and different things out there, and whatever reserve it's paying for it up front, Dana. I just had to, and I didn't want to cut you off, but I just had to say
agree.
That.
I absolutely agree with you, sir.
Yes. So
it should not be an option.
So with that being said, we're going to lead right into Theo, because Theo, you know, services the insurance industry. I know, Floyd, you do as well, but we're going to get with you in a minute and talk about the money. You know, where that money at? You know, they're talking about where that fan at? We're going to talk about that money. So, Theo, with that being said, let's talk about why are people afraid, first of all, to get life insurance, or they think they can't afford life insurance?
That's an excellent question. It's a kind of sort of just in general, community wise, is that it's supposed to be something in like an expense that I can't afford. That this is going to cost me something. See how I'm frowning right now? Versus it's a part of life. It's a part of what we do. It's a way to have preparation. And I'm sure Florida knows I'm going with this. That's why I'm what's called an insurance broker. I don't write for one carrier. I write for about 40 different ones, and one size doesn't fit all. And I know Dana will tell you that, am I right, Dana? The time to get insurance is not when that time comes. I had one of my dear customers call me when I was headed Sonia into a big meeting, but I saw the number. I asked the number. She said, I just went into the house. Found my husband has passed away. They found him dead. I said, my prayers go out to you. I shared my experience, and I said, but she had just gotten maybe a year ago $150,000, which is a lot. But then Floyd knows what I'm saying. Just that amount of money. It's a matter of what kind of lifestyle you want to lead. So basically, their house was in order to the point that they had that and other things in place. Some carriers have these riders that really all of them are starting to, but I know of about at least 10 or 12 that has an automatic 1% rider that's a part of the policy, where if the person passes, they'll give a 1% of that to the charity. Her husband's, I think it was Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church, now has $1,500 that's donated in his name. There are those kind of things you have when it comes to insurance. And it's really because and it's not ignorance, it's just a matter of kind of what Dana and Sonny was saying, the conversation family-wise. someone's in the family. And that's where Florida and I come into place, is that we make sure to get the word out like we're doing right now, is have the conversation, talk about what can we do, what could we do. It's a lot of different options we have. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dana, a cremation, you'll be kind of stressed to pay $8,000 for a cremation. Am I right, Dana?
Yeah.
Yeah. 5, 8, 12, and plus it's going to be all the dressings and all those kind of things. You can get coverage to minimally handle the final expense of death. And then what Floyd, I'm sure, is going to get into is that then there's a bunch of multiples that, what if you don't die? It's a thing that's called critical and chronic. It's their living benefits. They either come with or doesn't come with with policies. You can get up to have a $100,000 policy, get $85,000 that you can file a claim against to pay for heart attack, stroke, the kidney dialysis, the walkers, and all those kind of things. Those are things that with an insurance professional, we can make sure that families, one size doesn't fit all, but there are certain things we can have to make sure we have coverage. My thing I'll conclude on this is we like to call it critical period coverage. And that is, if the cost is prohibitive, then, am I right, Floyd, it's better to have something than nothing. So, and I think I heard, I think it was a Sonia, but yeah, but if you listen to Shenita's, not story, but her events, is that first 6 to 9 months, you don't need to be concerned about. Well, when my wife passed away, we had you're listening closely, about $250,000 of insurance, but somebody else owned it. This is the insurance at their job. I'm not going to call the insurance company's name, but this insurance company let me know, oh yeah, we got the claim through 3 months later, and it's a $250,000, and we're going to pay you at a $25,000 per month rate for the next 10 months. Pause on that. Shake your head in your Dana. We were already in pre-foreclosure. That's how we ended up losing the house, because I didn't own the policy. When you get with your insurance, give a financial advisor and get am I right, Floyd? Instruments that you own. When you own it, then you know exactly what you're going to get, and when the money is going to be cashed out. That customer who called me for $150,000, I'm her agent. Within 3 weeks, are you smiling, Floyd? 3 weeks, that was a check at her house. Okay, and so you smiling, Dana? The insurance carrier, the funeral home could assign, because they know that money is good from a reputable carrier. They've got about a multi-billion-dollar background, whatever. So funeral and everything was all taken care of, and the church got $1,500. Talk about this, and most of all, take action on it, because there are multiple different ways that you don't have to have nothing. You can have something. And the last little commercial here, as for as little as $25, $30 a month. You'll be amazed at what you can do with that if you get with a professional like myself, Floyd, and others to help you with this.
Absolutely. And it like you said, it does not take a lot. We waste that in Starbucks a week if we love Starbucks.
Yeah,
so we were to, really look at the situation.
We call it a fish sandwich and a drink.
Just prioritize, right? And then the other thing I want to say, my husband had a policy, but the policy amount, I was not clear on the conditions of the policy. We need to make sure that we know the conditions of the policies. Some policies, you may think that amount is for natural causes and it's for an accident.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to understand what your policy is. What are the conditions? So make sure that you don't just get a policy, but you understand it clearly. Ask the questions. What is the payout? What are the conditions on the payout, etc. So thank you, Theo, for that. Hopefully they will reach out to you and ask more questions relative to their personal situation. Most people want to talk about the Benjamins. So Floyd, You know, when Winston had that heart attack, we were over $6,000 a month in income, but the majority of the income was based on his life journey, which meant he was retired from the military. He was retired from the state of Georgia. He was working a job. We had a catering business. He had a disability VA check. He allowed me to work part-time. So that money was not secured in that. If something happens to him, what is the replacement plan? I want to make sure people understand that we're not having this conversation just to have this conversation. We're having the conversation because I personally had to endure hardship, not only losing my spouse and my friend, but losing what I knew was financial security. Because when we got married, we should have went to the Army because he retired from the Army in 1995. And the Army should have said, hey, I need to make sure you add your wife so that when when something happens to you, your retirement check from the Army will continue to go to her. This was a biggie. We were so caught up in living our lives that neither one of us thought about calling the United States Army, and they are not going to do it for you. So these are those things that you need to understand, that you need to handle your business, but we were too busy doing life, and we did not think about what happens if something happened to you. You're the breadwinner. How is that gonna affect me? And it did. So I want you, Floyd, to talk to them about, because we should have came to you and we knew to come to you. They heard me say that, but we kept putting it off because we thought we had more time. So talk to them about the money aspect of getting your affairs in order.
Thank you, Shenita. Real quickly, I'll try to recap what everybody said because it was so deep, but I wrote a few notes here and I'm writing notes. Don't be scared of death. We're too much scared of death in our Black community here. We cannot be scared of death. We have to have the uncomfortable conversations with it. Is your house in order? We talk about the financial structure and what we talked about. Theo hit some points, and I want to make sure we understand 90% of the life insurance that we have at a corporation does not transfer with us when we leave to another job. Okay, so you leave to another job and you're sick or have cancer, it may not transfer with you. So it's important to have individual life insurances. Two types of life insurance that you can have. We talked about term or permanent. We want to make sure you get the right one, but you need to have something outside of it. That's why I don't like the GoFundMe account, right? We talked about Dana. They didn't be coming to you beforehand and looking at that. Attorney Sonia, you talked about some important things. California has terrible probate laws. Mm-hmm. So guys, as long as you get a will here in Georgia, it's pretty simple, but you need to have a will because it needs to be a directive of where you're going. I like to shoot a paper, Dana, but I'm going to tell you, get that will, certify that will, because then you don't have Uncle Joe and Leroy arguing with you all the time, okay? Mm-hmm. Arguing all the time. So you all said great points, important things that we talk about, and I wanted to make sure I brought that out. Shenita, I want to talk about you and what you said at the end. Pensions, Social Security. Let's make sure that's in order, right? So when we talk about investments and what I do for people, we look at a retirement planning. First of all, if you don't have anything, the government will put you on Medicaid or put you on certain things, and they'll put you in a nursing home if you don't have anything. But you want to build investments. So we'll talk about that in a second. But the one thing we look at, a lot of my senior clients have what we call pensions, and what Shenita was referring to, maybe that pension that a person has a certain name on it, maybe an ex-wife, maybe an individual, and maybe you're able to change that ex-wife. You know, sometimes pensions don't allow you to, but sometimes they do. And if you need to go in there and change that, and you marry someone, we need to find out everything you have, because just because you're getting that check, we need to see how the whole process works. Or if you're about to retire, let's look at what we have and how the ERISA laws work on that. That's the laws determining the pension and who's it going to go to, because you with a new woman right now, you with a new man, right? We need to make them uncomfortable conversations, not just have fun traveling to Paris and back. All right, that's number one. Social Security too. Go to the Social Security department. When a person passes away, a lot of times you can take on that Social Security check. They may have worked and made more money than you, right? Or you may get spousal support if you have a dependent that's under the age of 18. So there's things you can do. Let's call the Social Security department. Social Security is not going away, people. Full Social Security is at 6-7. right? 6-7, if you just have to take Social Security. So if you're not getting a pension, maybe you want to wait to 6-7 so you can get that full Social Security so you can get as much as you can because you're going to live to be 90 years old. So those are all about planning that we look at as a couple, right? Those are not easy conversations, but you have to make those conversations. So I wanted to bring that up because you just talked about that. So quickly, a couple of things I want to go over there with you as far as planning and what you have. If you don't have any money, then are you doing yourself any favors going forward? You have nothing saved. It's not going to help you as you move forward because you want to leave somebody what? Something, right? You want to leave them something. So let's make sure we can budget first of all. So if you're not budgeting right, you need to budget. You need to have people, especially if you have kids, you need to plan accordingly. We talked about life insurance. We talked about the will. We talked about doing the right things at the funeral home. Those things are all important, but let's make sure we're doing the right things for our household while we're living. So that requires you to start putting money aside. I tell people, and I think it was a 50-30-20 rule. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but 50% should go to your daily needs of what you're doing. 30% should go to your entertainment, everything, and 20% should go to your savings. Did you hear what I said? 20%.
20%, not 10.
Ooh, I love that 20%. And I believe 10% should go to your 401k or your investments. The other 10 could go to high yield savings and different things like that. So that's the 50-30-20 rule, right? But I just tell clients, at least try to hit 10. There's an article when you start when you're 20-some years old, if you're doing at least 10% of retirement saving, you'll be a millionaire by the time you're 45. We just don't start that early. Guys don't start to that 36. Okay. I would tell you women start a lot earlier, right? But it's still like 31, 30. Now, the ones who are savvy may start in their 20s. Those are the ones who are doing well. So we want to go away from the GoFundMe account. What does that take? It takes us putting up a little money. So the first thing we have to do at corporate America, when you work for someone, you need to ask them, number one, people, write this down, 401k, what is your match? MATCH. Companies don't match over 6%. I want you to do 10, but you at least want to do 6. 90% of the companies don't match over 6%. They match between 3 to 5. Okay, that's free money. You have to do that. So that's the first thing we had a 401k plan. You need to at least be taking out 6% in that 401k plan. In that 401k plan. All right. Somebody talk about IUL. I'll probably get to that in a second. But number 2, I want to tell you, do a Roth IRA. ROTH IRA. The most you can put in a Roth IRA if you're over 50 is $8,000. The most you can put in if you're under 50 is $7,000. The rules of the IRA is this: 59 and a half, and you have that open for 5 years. But all that money you save in a Roth IRA is tax, say it with me, free. Tax free. I give you $8,000 today. You put into a Roth. You can invest in anything you want to. You could be aggressive. You can be moderate. You can be conservative. That 8,000 grows in the next 10 years, 15 years to 30,000, and you want to bring that money out, and you're over 59 and a half, guess what? You don't pay any what? Taxes. People, 1 and 2. You got to go do that process. After you do your 10% of your 401k, then I want you to open your Roth. You need to build your tax-free what? Bucket. A lot of 401ks have a Roth, but I need you to have an individual Roth so you can invest in anything you want to, and you have access to that money if you need it. You can always put out what you put in because it's after tax. You just can't take out what grows. I want you to build those buckets up because if something happened to you, your family should have to be able to tap into that money. If we have a tax-free bucket and a tax-deferred bucket, at least you have something you're leaving people, okay? You're leaving people. So it's important to build those buckets as much as you can, okay? First of all, you take care of your free money. Just remind people. And the next thing you do is what? Your tax-free money. So people, that's like $583 a month if you're under 50. And if you're over 50, they're like 666. I know that's a sign that you don't like. So I'll do 665.99, okay? If you're superstitious. But 666.66 times 12 equals $8,000. Okay? That's your goal. Set goals for yourself. We can do it. I'm living. You're living. We continue to live long. I used to be scared of death too, but now I realize I'm one day's going to die, so I want to make sure my family's taken care of. You follow me? I need to make sure everybody on here is taken care of, and we have to do it for ourselves. We can't depend on that GoFundMe account because everybody's not going to give, and sometimes the money doesn't come through like we talked about, Dana. We have to go out there and do our own thing. So 1 and 2, and I'm going to leave this last message for you for financial planning. Number 3, if you have your own business and you buy yourself, you can open up your own owner 401k. You heard me? Your own owner 401k. You can put up to $23,500 if you're under 50, or $31,000 if you're over 50, and even more money that are profit share. So there's a lot of things you can do. If you have your own business, you have a a plethora of different investments you can go to. Simple IRA, you can go to a SEP or own a 401k. So talk to a financial advisor, financial officers, and make sure that you're doing what you need to do based on your what? Risk levels. So that's 1, 2, and 3. So when we talk about savings, we want to build it up because we leave this earth, Shenita, we want to make sure that money's left for our loved one, not just insurance, right? Not just paying for the funeral home, but we want to have money left over for our lifestyle. And that starts with building from the beginning. So people, let's start early on those. Going to the last part of what we talked about, you did a great job on Attorney Belly and talked about wills. We talk about trust. A lot of people go into trust, especially you have land or properties or different things, and you have certain rules that you want to be on that. Trust is a great way to enforce that and let people know what you want to do after your death, right? But most of the time I tell people a simple will is perfect. Georgia is a very easy state for probate, so don't worry about it. If that will is set up by a person like Attorney Belly or somebody else, the judge is going to say, bam, we're going to listen. It's going to take about 8 months to 12 months, but he'll do everything that's on that will. And really, Uncle Leroy, whoever's trying to contest the will, most likely 99% chance can't contest that will. Okay. All right. So you're okay with the will. Just have some piece of paper that's going to go forward. And the last thing that Theo talked about insurance, people, life insurance is important. If you have a child, I tell all my clients, you have to have insurance. You have to have, and start with a simple term. You don't have to get permanent. Term is great for a person because you could do a converter like Theo talked about. There's a lot of things in there. A converter allows you to have a term policy, and if you become sick, you can convert that policy to a permanent policy in 20 years during the term policy. So if you become sick in that and know you can't get life insurance again, you can put a converter on your term to make it to a permanent policy. So there's a lot of things like Theo talked about that we could do the life insurance arena to make sure that you're taken care of. So people, make sure that you're reaching out, doing everything, listening to shows like what Shenita's blessing us with so you can understand the caveats, write them down, and then go listen to someone and get more information.
Absolutely. Thank you, Floyd. And that's why I put everybody's information there, because we can hear this conversation tonight, tomorrow, next year, but to sit down with the subject matter experts and have a conversation based on our personal situation is a must. And so I'm hoping that those who are listening, they caught the nuggets, because you shared a lot of nuggets. One of the things, Floyd, that you talked about first off was a budget. And Winston and I should have stuck with a budget. We had a lot of money during that time, but guess what? We were enjoying life. So we weren't thinking about on the other side. And he had a precondition with his heart when we started dating. So that should have been enough to say, get it together. But it wasn't, because we were busy with ministry, busy doing life, and wasn't focused on what if or when. So I just want to make sure that as we celebrate these 5 years of conversations, this is, to me, the most important conversation. Cornell asked us to talk about the POD on the bank account. So, typically I would have somebody from the bank here, but I wasn't able to secure someone. But we want to make sure that people have beneficiaries listed on their bank accounts and their other financial accounts at their jobs. And please, if your spouse has passed on, or if you remarried, please change the beneficiaries so that there's no heartache and pain in that process. During COVID, people were dying and they still had their ex-wife on their policies. And it just caused so much grief. You're grieving the loss. Now you're grieving the fact that, you mean to tell me the old wife gets the insurance policy and I'm your new wife because you didn't take the time to check? Please pause. Make sure that your personal affairs are just as important to you as your professional affairs on your job. You go to that job and you hustle to get your tasks done every day for that employer. And that's good, because we need the income that it brings, right? But we also need to make sure we're managing our personal affairs over here on the other side. Yes, Floyd.
Shenita, they had a few questions here, and you talk about TOD and PODs real quick. Payable upon death at a bank, make sure that you all do that. That's the beneficiaries on your regular non-qualified account. TODs at a brokerage account, transfer of death, just to make sure you have beneficiaries for any non-qualified. Non-qualified meaning they're not a retirement account. Somebody asked about a index universal life insurance. I don't know, Theo, what your opinion on it, but I was going to share just my opinion, and then Theo, you could piggyback whether you have your opinion on that. I don't mind index universal life insurance. That's fine. I would say directly invest in your 401k first. I use an IUL for my high net worth, for individuals, or for insurance outside of your 401k, your Roth IRA. After you're doing your investments, then you have extra money, I dump it into insurance product, because don't forget, insurance products has high expenses. I like to build up the cash value to pull it out, but I'd rather you go into your 401k directly, because that's getting your free money. See, people, we got to get our free money first and build that up. And then you can go to other products if you have other monies outside of that you probably invest in. So that's kind of how I work the insurance route. They have LERPs, life insurance retirement plans. They have IULs. There are different products you can go into. But I like to go into your Roth, your 401k. But then you say, Floyd, I still got extra money. Then I lean onto insurance to build that cash value for your savings down the road. So that's kind of how I work it. Theo, I don't know if you want to do that.
And I'll just piggyback on what Floyd said. I totally agree. If you got 6%, everything up to 6%, that's free money. It matches. After that, that's your excess. And another thing that most people are not aware of, I know I wasn't, even with an MBA and all the training I had and still have, is with the IUL, for instance, or the participating whole life that we have from day one. Any dollars you put in, it's a great parking place. You get guaranteed compound interest, and Florida's compounded daily. So that's very rare you can have anywhere. Most compounding is on a monthly basis. You have to check about the instrument, etc. But with an insurance instrument, because of I think it's tax code 7702, simply says that I can anything I borrow against, as long as it's still in the instrument, is all still within that instrument. So that means that I can have money that's out there earning the compound interest, and then if I need to, I can borrow up to 85-90% of that. So if I've got 10,000, I can take out 85%, 8,500, and take care of an issue. And then once I want to pay myself back, you basically become your own banker, and none of that's taxable, etc., because it's still a part of the instrument. You can put it back, or you don't have to, because your money's still there because you borrowed against it. That's one of the powerful things we have about these instruments that Floyd and I work with, is that talk to us, we can help you, because you don't have to, you don't have to put your money at risk and make these things happen for your family.
Awesome. I also want to mention disability insurance. One of the things, I have a good friend who had a policy. A mentor said to her, get some disability insurance. She was healthy. Some years later, she had been diagnosed with MS. The disability insurance policy that she had was based on her income that she was making, which was well over 6 figures a year. Mm-hmm. When she was diagnosed with MS and was no longer able to work, that policy pays her monthly as if she's still working. So I think sometimes we forget that piece too, my insurance guys, that maybe we need to think about disability coverage when we're healthy. Mm-hmm. Am I correct, Floyd? Am I correct, Theo?
Yeah. Everybody should have. But listen, if you work at a W-2 job, when you fill those things out, everybody should be doing disability, short-term and long-term, right? I consider that a norm. I hope nobody skips it trying to cheap out on it and say, I don't want to pay the $10 or $20.
Some people
right.
do.
Listen, it's $20 or $30. You pay that because it's going to pay a certain amount. So you got a short term, the 6 to 12 months for the year, and then the long term kicks in. The long term is harder to get because they need to make sure that you really have a disability. But like what you're saying, she was able to, he or she would be able to prove that. And once that long term kick in, that could be for a long time period, right? So it doesn't pay 100%, but it pays like 66% of your thing. It takes care of it. You need that portion on top of it. So you need to have that. I assume everybody takes out for short-term and long-term. Don't ever skip over short-term and long-term. And don't ever skip over life insurance at work, because $50,000 of it is usually free.
That's right.
Or your first time salary is usually what? Free. Okay. Mm-hmm. So and don't skip over life insurance, and don't skip over long-term and short-term.
And just a quick piggyback, and totally agree with Floyd, is you can get your normal life insurance. You don't have to get disability per se directly. You can have it as a rider, and like Shenita is saying, that rider can be $1,000 a month, $10,000. You can dial it up as what's necessary. And the earlier you do in life, the better. Want to address what Dr. Milton put in here, and I'm sure you'll smile about this, Attorney Sonia, junior and senior. The difference in your names. Please make sure there's a clear demarcation. My son, uniquely, my son he and I have the same name, but we clearly made him Theodore Pritchett III. I'm Theodore Pritchett, Theodore Pritchett. I'm Theodore Pritchett. Very clear as the difference, and then make sure that demarcation is there in the policy itself, where it's all spelled out. That's very important, and when we're doing all our documents.
And be consistent when you're a senior and a junior, a third, fourth, fifth, whatever you are. Be consistent on all of your documents. Make sure you put that full name on all your documents, especially any legal document.
Yes. I think we had a meaningful conversation. What y'all think?
I think we did.
So as we prepare to close, I want you each to share a nugget. And we're going to start with you, Dana.
Well, as Floyd said earlier, please don't be afraid to talk about death, and please have the conversation with your family.
Absolutely. And then if you have any questions about funeral plans, dial Dana up. The
Please.
office number 770-957-4337. Have a conversation before you need to. Thank you, Dana. Sonia?
One of the most important things is that not only you get a will, but when somebody passes, go ahead and probate it. And if they die, whether they have a will or whether they don't have a will, go ahead and probate their estate, especially if there's real property involved. Quit living in grandmama's house and she's been dead 50 years and nobody has changed the title. Because the more generations out that you wait to change the title on real property, the more difficult it becomes. So probate these estates. I know you don't want to. You're grieving. You can wait a while. You don't have to do it the day after they pass, but make sure you get those estates probated.
Absolutely. Theo?
Fish sandwich and a drink. You forget everything I said. Fish sandwich and a drink. Fish sandwich and a drink. McDonald's fish sandwich and a drink. $25 to $50 per month. It's worth it for your family. Get with a professional. I mean, if you just can't help yourself. But beautiful thing that Floyd said about those ratios about the 20-30, powerful stuff. Please take that in. Thank you.
50, 30, 20. Yes. Floyd?
Yes, ma'am. Quickly, I want to just tell you investments real quick, guys. Safe investments out there. We got a lot of chaos in the market, right? We know we got a certain individual, maybe doesn't know what they're doing, or maybe they do know what they're doing. I'm on the other part and they don't know what they're doing, but that's me personally. You know, you recording this, but I'm gonna tell you on record. That's how I feel. But I would tell you something else about it though, because of the chaos, there's higher interest rates right now. So a lot of clients are calling me, high yield savings account, 4.1, 4.3%. Remember that. You got money market accounts that you can put money into the account. You could do it with myself or do it at a high yield internet banking. They got high savings. Don't have your money sitting in regular savings making 1 to 2%, when you can make it 4% by having the money there and taking out when you want to. Last but not least, corporate bonds. They have corporate bonds, 8 to 10 year bonds, 2 to 3 years, going for 5.5 to 5.7% guaranteed from banks. Wells Fargo, Chase Banks. A lot of people putting their money in corporate bonds now because they have high interest rates, and interest rates will eventually go down, people. But there's a lot of ways you can make safe money grow for you right now. So talk to a person like myself or talk to another advisor or something. Find out all the avenues out there because of chaos, and we see the stock market moving around. You don't have to put money in the stock market, there's a lot of investments and safe investments with these high interest rates, whether it's a fixed annuity, whether it's corporate bonds, whether it's CDs, whether it's money market. Make sure you're tapping into those instruments if you just have money sitting around, because you want to make the highest interest you could be making.
Awesome. Sonia, someone is saying, is it possible to get a person's name off their home deed if they can't locate the person?
I would need a lot more information than that to answer that. If they'll call me at the office, 404-763-8988, give me a little bit more information and I'll see what we can do.
Okay. So with that being said, I just want to thank each of you for your sacrifice. You all know this is near and dear to my heart because we've seen so many people over the years suffer, including myself, unnecessarily, because I did not sit down. Me and my husband did not sit down and handle our personal business because we were too busy living life, doing ministry, doing other things. This should have been at the top of our list to do. So I am saying, because I've had to live through it, I want you guys to not have to go through what I went through because you were just careless or not making it a priority. Please pause. Contact the funeral home. If you're not interested in Dana's, there's 1,000 other ones around. Floyd Gant, financial advisor. If you don't want to choose Floyd, there are 1,000 other people around. Attorney Bailey. If you're not interested in getting to know her or letting her handle your trust, there are many more attorneys around. Life insurance. Theo Pritchett. May not be your cup of tea. There are other people that you can choose. My desire is to see you get your house in order. Not only just financially, but in every area. My book, Is Your House in Order? I don't know if you can see it. Can y'all see it?
No.
Okay, and maybe that's because of the backdrop. But it is available through me. It's available on Amazon. I'm available to come and speak in any setting. I love speaking to men's group. And let me tell you why. Because I'm a spouse and I lost a husband. So anytime I have the opportunity to go speak to those men, I challenge them to tell me that you love your spouse. Tell me that you really love them. And I'm not saying that my husband didn't love me. I'm saying we need to pause and stop, as Floyd said, handle your business to ensure that things are in order so that you know when that day comes, your family is well taken care of. I have many widows and widowers in my support group. Some of them have some of the most amazing financial situations that I've never dreamed of because their husband, whether they were together when their husband made decisions or not, they handled their business. So no one has to suffer. No one. If you're listening to me, no one has to suffer. So I want to make sure as we celebrate these 5 years that our voices ring out and we make ourselves available so that people can get their affairs in order. So thank you again, Attorney Bailey. Thank you again to Dana. Thank you, Theo. Thank you, Floyd, for all that you do, not only tonight, but throughout your entire life to help others get their affairs in order. And to the audience, we appreciate you tuning in. We thank you for your feedback, and we truly hope that something we shared today will make a difference in your life and make it better, not only for you, but for generations to come. Thank you all, and good night to our audience.
Thank you.